I tell you, it's a real joy when we get called by clients that know they have an issue and that they already, before we've even met, that they just believe that we have the answer because the people that have referred them. Well, the next scenario that I want to bring to you is we had a client that was planning an exit from one of their entities. And by the way, this is an issue that everybody will face if you're an entrepreneur, period. You are going to exit from your company because nobody lives forever. And if you're not here to own your company, then I can promise you the law says that the ownership of that company is going to transfer. Now, whether the business is going to remain successful or even exist after you're no longer here, that business is going to transition. So we're all going to exit. And this is a huge, huge issue for entrepreneurs because our culture makes starting a business incredibly easy. And because it's so easy, there's a lot of errors. There's a lot of oversight that gets missed, under planning, under appreciation of the complexities that can occur when an entrepreneur needs to exit out of a business. So this client had been referred to us because they were looking at exiting. The person that referred knew that they were looking at getting ready to exit. To be quite frank, the client said, after we worked with him, he said, you know, I really didn't think I need to hire anybody. I can tell you, I got one of the most heartfelt thank yous of working with that client when we achieved the exit that we were able to help them strategize. So the client came and basically said, I'm thinking that I'm ready to get out. I want to sell the business. I've got, the business itself. We've got some real estate attached to it. We've got some other stuff in play, but never been out of business, so I don't know how it works. I don't even know where to start. And so we did our deep dive. We really determined not what the exit of the business needed to do, but we went back to the very basic question of what's the definition of success? What does it look like? And that question totally transformed the process because the transformation began to help the person realize it wasn't about getting out of the business. It was about the entry to what was next. If you're watching this video and if you're an entrepreneur and you've been doing this a long time, you've been a technician, you've been a salesperson, you've been an entrepreneur, you've been a manager. Those are at least 4 of the positions that you've held inside of your company. And when you hold all those positions, you work endlessly, you work tirelessly. You've put in 10, 12, 14, 16-hour days sometimes. Because at the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur, you're gonna make sure this stuff gets done. So we're used to working hard. And when you show up to your company and you're working those types of hours, many people 7 days a week. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs that I've met that have not been able to remove themselves for 7 consecutive days without a thought of their business. It's the exception that you've actually been able to do that rather than the rule. And so for this entrepreneur, they began to realize as a family, well, what am I going to do if my husband who's selling his business is going to be at home all times? This client was in their 50s. They had children in high school and they're never going to be in business again? Are you prepared to be around your spouse that much of a 24-hour day at this time in your life? I think not. I would go to a religious example to say that Christ withdrew from himself a lot to go pray and be by himself. And there was a reason for that. It helped him to be the best person that he could be while he was a human being on this earth. I think we all have to be able to retreat and be by ourselves. So to think that my husband or my spouse is going to come and be with me all of this time in the future can actually create some stress on the spouse. So we challenge the entrepreneur. What is your life going to look like? What are you going to be doing with all this time that you're going to have capable on your hands to do? There's only so much hunting and fishing and roller skating or whatever your hobbies are, turning wood, golfing. There's only so much of that that's really able to be done. And that hit at home with this entrepreneur because they were looking at it like there was so much time in front of them because they lived a pretty successful life with their enterprise. This is one of the most enlightening conversations I've ever had with a client, for them to actually be challenged. What will you do with the time? Do you really think that your teenage children are excited to have you in their life that much? The answer was no, the teenage children were not that excited to have them there. But yet when you begin to transition and think about, do you want to be in your grandchildren's life that much? And will your brand new baby that's 6 months old, will they mind Grandpa and Grandma being around? They won't mind at all. Matter of fact, Sons and daughters probably won't mind that grandpa and grandma want to be around that much either. But it's tough for us to think about that. So that the questions that we were able to go through and to help this entrepreneur realize that it's not so much about getting out as it is equally about what are you going to get in. And unless you know what you're going to get in, how can you really design a proper exit? Because you don't know what you need. You don't know what the costs are to be able to achieve this over here. So this work really helped us to identify what were they going to enter? What was it going to be? What was this definition of success? That definition of success had a great impact on their capital needs and their income needs. They couldn't have had the conversations they had with the financial planning people that they worked with without that level of understanding. Those conversations with those people were completely different than just saying, okay, well, we think we have some assets after some taxes and go put it to work so we can do something. No, the conversation was opposite. The conversation was, this is what has to happen. You financial people have to help us figure out a way to make that happen. And guess what? The financial people that they were working with did not have the capabilities to do that kind of work. They'd worked in a very traditional financial type of environment. They wound up working with some different financial people that were able to lead at that level and really deliver a totally different level of service that they'd had in the past. Their past had been all about financially, had been about building. Their new world was about expanding, not building, but expanding and finding a way to have financial impact in the world instead of having financial expense. That's why the power of exit planning is so cool to us. It's a wonderful experience to get there because it's not just exit planning, it's entry planning. And for us, it brings that entire airplane on board. We know that when we're going to do an exit, we're going to have legal on board. They're going to be involved. Your financial people are going to be involved. You're going to have CPAs involved. Wait a minute, sometimes the people that you're working with will only get you so far up the mountain. And if you're having a mountaintop experience, you're going to need new Sherpas, you're going to need new guides. So we could use everybody that was on the team. This particular individual that I'm talking to you about, they have a very competent attorney on their team. But the level of work those financial people did over there to help them enter the next phase of life, there were some moves that they made over there financially that required a higher level of legal acumen, that they actually collaborated with their local attorney, and we brought in another attorney that was specialized in that area of entry. And they collaborated together. Now, the reality is my client is going to continue to work with the local attorney for all of those services and the majority of legal services for the rest of their life. But now they have this other legal eagle, if you will, that comes in and works at this higher level on just that one thing. So it's that brotherly, sisterly relationship that these providers work solely for the benefit to get our family to their definition of success. And without our work as a navigator, they wouldn't have known what that was. So the collaborative effort that family engaged in is what led to the breakfast meeting that I had with the client that said, Mark, this experience has been life-changing. And it has, and that's the joy that we get. If you don't understand that the value that we deliver to people, that we absorb in our hearts, is value. Your business has an impact on other people in a positive manner. So much so that it warms your heart, it brings people closer to Christ, that's compensation. That's priceless stuff. That's part of our mission. Achieve the priceless, because that's where value is. So that's that family and the importance of exit strategy.